Have you noticed in the news recently the huge amounts of bonuses that the fat cats have been taking for themselves from the industries that are really responsible for putting this country and many other countries into what the government now officially recognises as a recession? It's hard to believe the sums of money that are being given out as bonuses. Tens of millions of pounds in bonuses being given out to bankers who misused the bank's money in the first place to put the whole country into a state of crisis. And then the entertainment industry has gone absolutely wild, with bonuses being frozen temporarily for the top executives in the BBC who were receiving ridiculously obscene amounts of money. And then we hear recently of those in the professional side of the entertainment industry asking for ridiculous sums of money for their programmes or for appearing on a programme. And what about footballers? Can you believe the transfer fees that some of these teams are paying? We're not talking about just big amounts of money. We are talking about huge, tens of millions of pounds of money, when the rest of us are having to tighten our belt another notch and count our pennies a little longer and cut back on the unnecessary frills of extravagant living. Well, let's see what the Bible has to say about this. If we turn to the book of 1 Timothy and see what Paul says to his disciple, to his son in the Lord, Timothy. Reading from chapter 6, verse 17, it says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life." I'm sure that some of these people that are earning huge amounts of money are generous. I'm sure that they are giving to those who have less, that they're giving to charity and charitable works. I'd like to think so. But in doing good deeds, in turning to God, then they are not just gratifying themselves with giving to those who have nothing, but by turning to God, they are laying a foundation upon which to build the rest of their life for eternity. We're told in the Bible not to store up our treasure here on earth, but to store up treasures in heaven. And that's what we should be looking to do. Every time we bless someone from the right kind of heart attitude here on earth, we will reap a harvest for eternity in the heavenly realms. You know, it's important that we don't just throw money around if we have money to throw around, but that we give carefully as the Lord directs us. Sometimes He will challenge us to give into a situation that we think isn't really a good, fertile soil. For example, what do you do if a beggar comes to you who smells of alcohol and he's asking for money for a cup of tea or something to eat? You can take him and buy him something to eat. You can pray for him. Or you can give him money and hope that he'll use it for the right purposes. You know, I believe that Jesus would advocate the latter. That He would say, don't you worry about what happens to that money when you give it, but when you give it with the right attitude and sow it willingly with gladness and joy in your heart into His life, then you have done your part. What he then does or she then does with the money that you have given them is their responsibility before God. If they abuse that money, then they're accountable. If they use it for good and feed themselves, help themselves in some positive way, then again, they have give an account for that money in a positive way. So I think we should be giving in every situation, at all times, whenever an opportunity presents itself. Not looking too much at, is this the right thing, is this the wrong thing? Certainly don't go with your emotions, which are a roller coaster that will take you nowhere and eventually make you dizzy. But listen to the Lord. Give where He tells you to give, and give gladly, for this will please the Lord. And to those of you who are listening, who have money to spare, don't just gratify your ego, don't just make yourself feel good by giving money to those who have less, but turn to God and ask Him how best to use this for eternal purposes, for the eternal value that it can have. The best thing that any one of us can do is turn to God, for that is our true treasure. What Jesus did for us creates in us a treasure that no one can take, that will never spoil, that will never perish, that will never fade away. Because when we have that gift of eternal life, we have it forever, and we can never outgive God when we consider the high cost that Jesus paid to give us that precious gift of being with Him forever. I bless you and bless God for the money that you have. Now you can bless God too by using your money for the extension of His kingdom. But firstly, you need to accept His gift. Will you give your life to Jesus? Will you consider that all that you have comes from Him? That any ability that you have used to earn that money comes from the talents that He has given you? It's all about Jesus. Jesus is our treasure. Do you have Jesus in your heart? God has invested His Son in you. He's given us Jesus. Will you receive that precious gift? And then will you use what you have to glorify God and magnify Jesus? God bless you.